A craftsman battles for perfection, never willing to give in or walk away. I'm Eric Gorges. I built custom motorcycles from the ground up, using the tools I was born with and skills passed on by countless generations before me. I wasn't always a motorcycle builder. I worked 9 to 5, chasing money and titles, and it nearly broke me. So I threw it all away and started over. I decided to work with my hands to feed my soul, and I've never looked back. I believe there's a craftsman in all of us. Join me on a quest to uncover the skills that built our society, one craftsman at a time. We'll discover what drives the men and women who I call my heroes. We'll learn their craft and maybe even find some inspiration along the way. There's a part of you in everything you do, your legacy, a craftsman's legacy. Natural glass as a raw material has existed long before it became an element used in glass blowing. During the 12th century, the Venetians formed the Glassmakers Guild to protect their secrets. Venice was so concerned with the possibility of burning down their city, they decided to banish all glassmaking to the island of Murano. The guild went so far to guard their technique, they would hunt down any glassblower that left the island. The Venetian method still sets the standard for the proper tools and process to be considered a master of the craft. Before the 1960s, most glass was mass-produced in large factories. For an artist, breaking off on your own wasn't an option. Portable furnaces changed all that, and the studio glass movement was born. Artists began to break free from the glass-blowing factory environment and work independently in their own studio spaces. Experimentation with design and technique allowed a global community to blossom from what originally was a small, highly secretive trade. Today, artists like April Wagner maintain their own glass-blowing studios, and in doing so, have found their own personal style. April Wagner is a phenomenal glass blower with a world-renowned following. Today's going to be a great day. April, how long have you been in this fantastic studio?
I bought the building in 1997.
Okay. What was it like when you got it?
It was an old TV repair shop, and it was pretty decrepit. It took a lot of work, about 3 years, to make the building into the shop that it is now. I had to bring in a 1,000-amp electrical service.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, so I could turn everything in the shop on at once if I want and not blow a single fuse.
Holy smokes, 1,000 amps.
1,000 amps. So I have more power here than my entire subdivision.
What did you do first?
Meaning?
Like when you got in here, and you gutted the place first,
Gutted
right?
it,
The
yep.
whole place. So then what did you do? Like what went in first? The furnace?
No.
The electrical?
No.
What'd you do, paint?
Put in the landscape.
The landscape? Get out of here. Why would you do that?
So there was just a parking lot outside, and that was just unacceptable. So I had this loan from the bank, and I was like, all right, put in some trees, bring in some boulders, some dirt, spent all the money outside, got inside, and was like, oh man, I don't think I thought that out very well.
How did you get into it, though? How did you find your way into glass?
I always knew I wanted to be an artist from when I was really young.
How did you know?
I just never really fit in anywhere, and I was always making things, and I always had my own ideas about the world, and I didn't see that anywhere I looked around me. And I realized that, you know, artists are people who make things as an expression of themselves, and I enjoy that. As a child, I always enjoyed, you know, whether it was sewing or cooking or whatever, I liked to do it.
You enjoyed making stuff?
I enjoyed making
Were
things.
you the little girl on the playground off to the side with the long scarf?
Totally. Like
things
in the
didn't really
sandbox,
match.
building like crazy castles.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
I went to a high school for the arts in Northern Michigan and studied ceramics. Went to New York and studied ceramics out there and took a glass class and realized that this is what I wanted to do. I came to Detroit because when I switched to be a glass major, I wasn't getting enough time in the glass shop. And glass is one of those things that you can read books and watch videos and you can talk about it, but really you need to have your hands on it and working with it. So in
It's
York,
seat time.
yeah, yeah.
Like any craft or art, really, it's time in the saddle.
Got my degree from the College for Creative Studies in Detroit and traveled, sold my work at art fairs and shows. And that's how a lot of people get their start is, you make all this stuff and then you've got it and you don't know where to put it. So you got to start selling it.
This was stuff you were making in college?
Yeah.
That you had?
Yes.
Did you know when you were making it then that you eventually were going to sell it?
Well, I knew I needed to get rid of it and people kept asking me if they could buy it. So kind of put two and two together there.
Right on.
Yeah.
What kind of things?
Small things, vases, bowls, things where you're really learning.
Paperweights?
Paperweights.
A lot of paperweights.
Lots of paperweights, Christmas ornaments.
Christmas ornaments.
You got to pay your dues. But all those are great ways to learn skills. So you take those skills and then you can apply them to make more artistic things. It helped me build an aesthetic and a quality of a work ethic. A studio like this is very demanding in that it's expensive to run. So I had to really be on the game. And they don't teach you a lot of those business skills in school.
No.
So you kind of have to learn it on the fly. For a long time, when we were under construction, I lived here, just had a camping shower and slept on a futon that every day I would, fold up and put in the corner and work.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of years doing that. And it's paid off now, but it was hard. It's not that I have a work-life separation. It's that this is my life. I am my work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that still true today?
Yes and no. I've had to balance it a little bit more. I have to be a little more conscious of it, working every day till midnight, 7 days a week, a couple months in a row, you get really burnt out. So I have to remember to step away and allow myself time to refresh or rejuvenate. And you probably feel this way. Like it's like on Saturday and Sunday, I'll be like, I got to go into the shop for something. And it's
guilty.
hard to not
Yeah, you feel guilty.
go in. Yeah.
How long ago did you sort of find that or figure it out?
I was in a pretty bad car accident a couple of years ago. I was riding my bike and I got hit by a car.
Oh my gosh.
And I was hospitalized for a couple of weeks and couldn't actually blow glass for about a year. So during that time period, I really struggled emotionally and physically to recover because I've never imagined myself doing anything other than this.
Yeah.
So that also helped me come to a realization that I didn't want to make the kind of work that I was making before. I really wanted to make things that were more sculptural and one of a kind, as opposed to making limited production things, bowls and vases.
You were shut down completely for a year and you
Shut
couldn't
down.
work?
Mm-hmm. The emotional
That's
part of it
horrible.
was the thing that I really had to spend a lot of time working on.
Sure.
Just like, who am I? What is it I want to do with my life? Why did this happen to me? And in all honesty, it's made me a much better person. It's really helped me figure out what's important and focus on those things.
I think it's neat how something so horrible like that can just end up being, this bed of flowers at the end of the day, but you don't really see it that way.
When you're in the middle of it, you can't figure it out.
No, you're sort of lost,
and
I
you
would think.
struggle and you're angry. But when you get to the other side of it, you're like, man, right on. That totally needed to happen.
Do you refer to yourself as an artist or as a craftsman?
An artist.
An artist.
Mm-hmm. I know there's a lot of debate about that, but I don't really buy into it.
Well, tell me about it. Tell me the debate that you see. Like, how do you see the difference?
I don't.
You don't.
No, I don't think you can be one without the other.
And so you really don't see a difference between the two. You see it as a blurred line, right?
I don't know how you can be an artist unless you understand craft. You have to be able to create things and make them, and you want them to be made with integrity. So why wouldn't you want to understand that process? And if you aren't capable of creating that part yourself, you should find someone who is capable and have them help you collaborate on making that.
You sort of had to see and learn the traits and the history of it, though, and the utilitarian function of it.
You do. And there's a lot of chemistry and physics involved with melting the glass and controlling the temperature. And a lot of the equipment that I use is is handmade. So then you have to understand a little bit about metal. You have to understand a little bit about ceramic castables. So the building of a shop and the maintenance of that shop is a whole layer of understanding that has nothing to do with actually working the glass.
When do you stop working on something? Like, at what point is it done? Is it ready? Because nothing can be perfect if you're making it by hand. There's no level of perfection that's really perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And it shouldn't be either. That's what makes things handmade.
I struggle with that all the time. And glass is a medium where you are constantly working to find that sweet spot.
And that's all part of becoming a master of your craft.
Yeah, working
right?
with your craft.
That's what seat time is hands-on working.
I'm in the saddle. Yeah.
Doing the actual work, not theorizing, not reading, not, thinking about it, but it's actually hands-on hard work, learning how to balance and how to dance with the material you're using.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And anybody who's good at whatever they do is spending that time doing it.
It was really important to me to talk to a glass worker because glass is so fundamental in our society. And it's evolved so much over time. It's thousands of years old. And a lot of the fundamentals of working with glass haven't really changed that much. The tools have changed over time, but you're still heating up glass, right?
The tools haven't changed as much as you would think they have. They're actually fairly similar.
Yeah.
In the 1700s, the Italians really perfected a lot of the hand tools and the layout of the bench system and the reheating chamber. And not much has changed.
And none of that's changed, really?
No. The safety systems are different. The capacity to control temperature is different.
Right.
It stands the test of time.
It has. Yeah, for sure.
So we often have these discussions about artists and craftsmen, which is which. And to tell you the truth, I'm not sure. It's sort of blurred. And I think every craftsman and every artist is going to have their own interpretation of it. For me, I consider myself a craftsman, but I can tell you there's plenty of people out there that often refer to me as an artist because that's how they see me. Show me some of the other tools you're using.
So these are called the pinzas or the tweezers. I have my straight shears, my diamond shears, which are pretty cool. I can grab the pipe with them, or I can cut glass.
These things are pretty gnarly looking.
Yeah. This is my taglia or paddle.
Okay.
It's used for flattening things. This is the beeswax, and I use that to coat the blades of the jacks so that they slip over the glass. Because I don't want these to stick as I'm working.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then you saw me using some of the wood molds. So these are made from a fruit wood, which has a little bit more sugar in it. So it creates, when it burns, it creates this great carbon layer. So the glass, when I'm shaping it in the wood mold, doesn't actually touch the wood. It's riding on this steam layer that's created from it being immersed in water.
That makes sense.
So I have all of the different sizes of blocks to work with depending on how much glass I'm gathering.
So April, right now we're gathering some glass?
Yeah, so I've got my blowpipe, and this is the glass furnace, and the glass is molten inside of the furnace.
Where does the glass come from? Is it like a box of broken glass that you put in there? Do you start from sand? Where does it come from?
I start from sand, so there's a lot of different ways to use glass. My glass is a first melt glass, and it's called a soda lime glass, so it's very soft and very clear and sparkly.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
Now, what kind of temperature is that at? You could just feel that heat kicking.
It's about 2,000 degrees.
Man.
And it runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so...
That's just crazy.
So to make it stick to the blowpipe, I had preheated the blowpipe. You can see the, as the color changes, the temperature is cooling off.
And you're keeping it moving so it doesn't drop to one
so
side?
if I stop turning, it just gravity pulls it to the ground, so I have to keep turning it.
It's really a lot of technique. I mean, this is all about technique, isn't it?
It is. So it's important, what your posture is, because you're moving a lot of weight around, how you're holding the tools.
How long did it take you to
to learn how to manipulate the glass in a molten state like that, right? Because this is all about heat control. It's about making sure that glass is at a working temperature and going back and forth between heating and cooling.
Right. So a couple of the things that you have to learn how to read are what color equals what temperature. So glass is really about the things that you can't see. It's about centrifugal force and gravity and temperature and timing. So you can see this process is fairly fast, but the faster you work with the glass, the better off you are, because you're really trying to maintain that heat.
What's the most challenging thing for a beginner?
I think learning how to put the jack line in is pretty challenging. And of course, when you punny, right, which is what I'm doing right now, a lot of beginners will end up breaking the bottom out of the piece.
That light of a tap just broke that score mark.
Right, so you're just creating a chill mark, and that chill mark will cause a line to form around the glass.
Okay.
Thanks.
So what are you doing now? You're opening up the lip?
Right, so I'm using the jacks on the inside of the cup to open the lip up, and I'll create the sides will be straight when I'm done.
Okay.
So we have our little cup.
That's beautiful.
And just to show you about the cooling process, normally if I was going to save this, I would put it into the annealing oven to cool it down to room temperature.
Okay.
Because if I was just to set it out, it would crack.
So is that what I'm going to be making as a cup?
That's what you're going to be making.
All right, let's get to it.
All right.
You know, you're dealing with this molten round blob of glass at the end of a stick, basically, and you're trying to control it, trying to keep it on center. You're using the power of gravity to help you with this. I mean, it was just totally a different environment for me. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was so cool, and I'd really like to spend more time with it, but the challenges involved were pretty great. But I found the more I did it, like anything else, the more you do it, the more comfortable you become with the material, the more you can sort of tell at what temperature things are happening and how fast the material's cooling down. It was cool, but man, it was hot, real hot.
Nice.
This is
Now
going
we
to
got
be
some
a
glass.
giant glass.
Yeah. So remember just to keep it level and keep turning.
Yep.
Now when you go to use the wood block, it's so much softer than it was before, so you want to ease it on.
Okay. Oh, I love this. This is just.
Nice. It's looking good. All right, let's go ahead and take a little reheat on it.
Am I going all the way in or
Yep, go in a little farther.
a little farther?
There you go.
And I do want to keep spinning, correct?
Yeah.
Just slowly.
Yep.
I cannot stress enough how hot it is. This is just crazy hot.
So really, we're trying to get at that molasses honey consistency again.
Okay.
And get the heat from the outside to the inside so we can start the bubble in it.
And I can totally see, am I using the wood thing again?
Yep.
The need to have this bench so specific in space and size.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really helpful.
So you can see how the metal is glowing on the inside
Yes.
of this piece. A lot of beginners make the mistake of letting that metal get too cold and it pulls the heat out of the glass.
Am I making that mistake?
No, you're not. You're doing great.
Expert.
So when you come out this time, we're going to grab the wood block. We're just going to use it for a quick second to get everything on center.
Trying to keep it on center.
And if you want to grab the jacks, yep. So the jacks have a couple of different motions. They have a pulling in, squeezing motion. They have a twisting motion like this, and then they have a twisting motion like this. So when you ease, you want to ease on to the glass.
Right now?
Not yet.
Okay.
And go ahead.
Right here?
And you want to do it, yep, off the edge of the pipe. Still looking good. So right now it's a little bit wider than it is long, so it would make a nice bowl. Do you want to make a bowl instead of a cup? Because if you want to make it a cup, I'll swing it out a little bit for you.
I'd like to see you swing it. I think it'd be safer if you did it.
I think so too. So that's just going to elongate it. That's the centrifugal force again.
Sure.
And so you saw me holding the jacks on the outside and riding it. And if you have alley blow while you're doing that, you'll get the sides a little bit straighter. Go ahead and blow alley a little bit. So see how that's getting nice and straight? Stop, Allie. You want to take the back end of the jacks and you want to flatten the bottom. Oh, I think that's beautiful. Want to make them up, honey?
It's a little wonky, but you know, I think for a first timer, it's not too bad.
I think it's amazing for the first time. You can see the one I made down here, so that's pretty similar.
Almost identical.
Yeah, I think we got 2 out of our set. So at this point, you've stopped shaping it and you're just trying to maintain the heat
Okay.
on the piece. That's why you have to get up every minute or 45 seconds, come on out. So you're not actually trying to move it at all.
Just trying to keep it warm.
Just trying to keep it warm. So go ahead and sit back down with it. Turn. Okay, and then I'll let you turn, 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 turn. And lift it up a little bit. Nice.
Look at that.
You want to come up here and grab it from Allie?
Ready? All right, excellent.
Thank you.
And this is a lot thinner,
So you-
this rod.
Yes. So you want to stay right about here. That's where your line of heat is. And you probably understand this from metalworking.
Yep.
Where you point the torch is where your line of heat is at, right?
And we
So
just want to get the
the top of it hot. 'Cause
Yes.
The bottom, we just put that really hot little piece of glass on there.
Yes.
And it's such a small attachment point, and the reason it's sticking is because it was really hot like that. But we don't want to actually melt it into the bottom, or when we go to break it off, your bottom will stay with the punny.
Okay.
Okay? And you can see the change in color from here to here.
I sure can.
Keep it on center. Let's center it up. Go ahead and grab the jacks. And you're going to put them on the inside. And you're going to kind of pull up. There you go. You can feel how much torque that causes, right?
Yep.
And you're going to want to hold them level, straight, and make a really nice straight-sided cup.
Okay. I think it looks good. Wow. Very cool.
Yeah. So we're going to take this knife,
Okay.
and we're going to do the same principle as what we did when we were making the neckline, is we're going to create a chill mark between the punny
Okay.
and the bottom of the cup. Vibration to crack it off. And torch the bottom down a little bit so we don't have any sharp areas.
Just to smooth it off, right?
Yeah. It's a nice finishing touch. And then Allie's gonna go ahead and put that into the annealing oven. And it'll sit in there until we're done working today. And then about 12, 16 hours come down to room temperature.
For me to work with April and just spend one day in her shop was truly special to me because it allowed me just a little glimpse into her life and sharing her legacy. Even though just a little bit, it's still really cool for me.
How about your legacy? Like, do you think a lot about that?
My pieces are like my children.
Yeah.
And they will outlive me, and they will tell future generations something about me, or offer future generations something that maybe doesn't have anything to do with me personally, but is something special and meaningful.